Portland is currently in a state of emergency. The mayor extended the state of emergency because there is fear of civil unrest in the wake of the Derek Chauvin verdict. Even though he was found guilty, the lunatics in Portland still rioted. But I'll tell you, this story we have right here from Fox News. Portland's Democratic mayor begs public to help unmask members of self-described anarchist mob. He says, I'm also asking you to help make a stand and take our city back. First, let me just say, the mere fact that you got elected shows the people are not interested in taking the city back from the self-described anarchist mob. They're not anarchists, by the way. They like to say that because anarchy means without authority, but these people are violent authoritarians. If they didn't have an ideology, if they were just like, no one should be in charge, woo, I'd be like, oh, okay. That's not like core ideological anarchy. It's kind of like, I don't know, blunt anarchy. When most people say anarchy, they're referring to some kind of cooperative system, be it, cooperating and agreeing on working on things or, capitalism and free trade. Now, these people aren't anarchists. Antifa is an ideologically group of typically far left authoritarians. Anyway, I digress. The fact that people voted for this man shows they don't want the city back because this has been going on for over a year now and longer than that. There have been riots and unrest in Portland for years or longer, and the people keep voting for it. This is why we can't have nice things, because people are unfortunately too stupid. They vote for someone like Ted Wheeler, even though you had alternatives. I guess they had a far left alternative. They didn't want her either, but they vote for the guy who literally supported the riots. Not exaggerating. See, Ted Wheeler went out during the riots last year and, oh no, he got tear gassed, he says. And while he's standing there supporting the extremists and they're lobbing explosives at the federal building, he's acting like it's a peaceful protest and the police, oh heavens, Trump's Gestapo. He then goes into a government building and then, surprise, surprise, the moment he leaves, they say unlawful assembly declared. This guy actively supported the extremists. Why? Probably for political reasons. Now that he has his power back, now that he's assured he'll be, he'll be staying as the mayor, now he wants people to step up. Great. Here's a story from Fox News, which goes on to explain why we can't have nice things. Portland Mayor Ted Wheeler called Friday for the city's residents to assist authorities in their efforts to unmask members of the self-described anarchist mob. What is this? What self-described anarchist mob? Sorry, no one's self-describing themselves as an anarchist mob. These people are Black Lives Matter, waving Black Lives Matter flags in the streets as they engage in riots, and many of them waving the Antifa flag. He goes on to say, they've engaged in acts of violence and vandalism in recent months. Excuse me, they've been doing this for over a year. Spare me. The Democrat extended a state of emergency in Portland through Monday, amid concerns about potential unrest following the trial of Derek Chauvin, the former Minneapolis officer that we know. Story of that. They go on to say, the Portland mayor asked the public to come forward with any information on members of the anarchist group. So does this mean that Ted Wheeler is a big fan of Andy No? The city is beginning to recover, but self-described anarchists who engage in regular criminal destruction don't want things to open up to recover, Wheeler said. They want to prevent us from doing the work of making a better Portland for everyone. They want to burn. They want to bash. Why were you supporting them last year? Are you just really dumb and didn't realize that they were doing this as they were doing it? And it's only later on. I know. Tribalism. There are a lot of people who don't pay attention to politics, who will vote Democrat because they hate conservatives. That is it. And the same is true for people on the right. The only issue is there's a massive propaganda network for the left. The right has, Fox News. And I love it when people are like, hey, man, don't discount Fox News. they're powerful and large mainstream media. And I'm like, dude, it's one channel. Tucker Carlson gets like 3 million viewers. Not bad. But he's comparable to like Rachel Maddow. I people don't want to hear it, but it's true. Now, Rachel Maddow, I think for a long time was losing to Tucker, but she's getting millions of views as well. And then you've got NBC, ABC, CBS, HLN, CNN, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So sorry, the right doesn't have nearly the amount of propagandistic power that the left does. So the left complains about the right. These like regular people living in cities just hate conservatives. You know what? Fine. They keep voting for people like Mitch McConnell and Lindsey Graham. So that I get. That's annoying. But what do the Democrats do? Support protests and riots, and then come out and say, please stop the riots after you vote them in. So it's manipulation. It's a lie. They say Portland has contended with months of violent demonstrations. Months? Are you joking, Fox News? Come on. Even Fox News can't come out and be like, it's been over a year. They say on the previous Friday, police declared a riot amid reports of gunshots, broken windows at the First Christian Church, and anti-police graffiti at the Arlene Schnitzer Concert Hall, the Oregonian reported. Wheeler expressed support for Portland police to use all legal strategies to prevent further violence or property damage. Kettling, a controversial tactic in which police surround a crowd to confine one area, was one of the approved strategies. The mayor noted that local Black Lives Matter leaders have already stepped forward to denounce these self-described anarchists. You see the manipulation here? It's so annoying. These people are not self-described anarchists. They don't come out and say that. Some people might. They're not really anarchists, even if they do. But for the most part, they don't say they're anarchists. They say they're socialists. Some of them say they're outright communists. Some of them are part of the revolutionary communist movement. You see what they're trying to do here? Together we can make a stand, Wheeler said. We're doing what we can today. I'm also asking for your help to make a stand and take our city back. Within hours of Wheeler's public plea, police declared a riot in the northeast part of the city after rioters began damaging buildings. 2 people were arrested. Great. This is only going to get worse. And it's because, look, I'm sorry. Young people are being manipulated by, what's the right word? You know, look, there's a lot of people in media that are political, and they're basically stenographers for the state, or I should say for the Democratic Party. But there are a lot of people in media who are just desperate for money. They're sitting there thinking like, I'll help you propagandize the youth so they burn down the country for money. The New York news outlets hire these people and say, write psychotic psychobabble so that young people go insane. Okay, I'll tell you what happens. I think we may see the police get abolished. I really genuinely mean it. We're seeing cops resign en masse in various departments, and it's been ongoing for over a year. And they should not be standing for this. Give the voters what they asked for and stop placating these people. You see who they vote for. They vote for Ted Wheeler, a guy who literally goes out supporting riots and then coming out and condemning them. I'm sure Antifa, actually, I'm pretty sure the guy got punched in the face by Antifa because it's pretty obvious. When you're a manipulative, duplicitous liar of a politician, nobody's going to like you. Because you come out and say, I support the protests while they're lobbing explosives, but then you go out and declare an unlawful assembly, they're going to hate you. And for the inverted reasons, the right and moderates will hate you. So here's what bothers me. Who are these cops who are like, I'm going to stay here and support this? Why would you do that? You should leave. You should not be a part of this. The people in the city voted for this man. What is wrong with you? I'm sick of it. I've seen a lot of stories and I've gotten a lot of emails. I've had a bunch of cops emailing me saying, I hate to admit it, but you're right. Now, this is not indicative of all police. It's just a handful of emails I've gotten in the past couple of weeks where I've been saying, you know what? Fine, abolish the police department. These cops got to go somewhere else. It's 2 things. 1, don't let them take your dignity. Stand up for yourself and say, if you don't want my support, I'm out. And the other thing, too, is they asking you to leave. Maybe you should leave. There's a viral video. It's hilarious. Dan Scavino just posted it. There's a cop and he's like sitting in his car and he goes, oh, no, two guys are fighting. 2 black guys are fighting with the knife, about to get stabbed. Guys about to get stabbed. Hold on. Closes the door. Then he calls LeBron James like, hey, LeBron. Yeah, there's 2 guys fighting. They're armed. Yeah, it's 2 black men. What should I do? Oh, I shouldn't stop and save them. Really? Okay. And that's the joke. But what's funny is my response to that is you're joking about it as if you should intervene. I said this last week. A woman was killed in New York City. It was a black woman ran up to a black woman and shot her. Nobody protested. Nobody cared. It wasn't a major national story. It was picked up by by many conservatives and many, asking questions about why there's no support for things like this. Moderates and disaffected liberal types like myself. And nobody cared. So why would we do anything? Like if people are, if the city of New York is like, we're going to burn down some buildings because, we need to destroy them. It's like, okay, I guess it's your city. I don't live there. If I did, I'd express my opinion about why I disagree. But if the city wants to go around burning down buildings, so long as whatever, if everyone votes for it, Then you have the story of Ma'Khia Bryant, which brings me to this segment that Bill Maher did, which I think is fascinating. Ma'Khia Bryant, as most of you know, she had a knife. She's trying to stab somebody. Cop saved the other woman. Everybody got mad. I've had it. I'm just sick of these. I gotta be honest. You know how I'm mad at right now? I'm mad at the police. I am. Look, I've always been in favor of police reforms. I do think we have problems with police accountability issues. I don't think that every cop is bad, and I don't think it's as pervasive as many on the left might think. And I think it's because manipulative media makes money off sending rage bait content about cops beating people. And I think for the most part, look, almost every interaction I've had with a cop has been negative. Why? Why else would a cop be interacting with you? Okay. But to be fair, this is why I'm for reform. I've had cops try and plant drugs in my car. Totally BS. I've never been a smoker or anything like that. And they backed off. I've also tried to report crimes and the cops don't do their job. Negative interactions. I've had a few positive interactions. So I'm like, we need some reforms in this because, we need somewhere to go to be like, hey, this bad thing happened and someone needs to do something about it. That is, working in a capacity that crimes can be stopped or prevented. And so I do think we need reforms. But at this point, I'm mad at the cops because they're propping this system up. The people of Portland and the people of Columbus are screaming, we hate your guts. And these spineless individuals who won't do anything about it are demanding privately that the police remain. If no one is going to say what needs to be said, then the police should not be there. It's that simple. Now, interestingly, last Friday, Bill Maher clashed with the Griots' April Ryan on Chauvin guilty verdict, Ma'Khia Bryant shooting. I love how Bill Maher is just so close to getting it right. But I think the real issue is that Bill Maher has a liberal audience, and he can only say so much. Of course, Bill Maher tends to buck the orthodoxy of the woke establishment left, but still, he's too, in my opinion, he's either deceitful or just not smart enough. He can say things like, the media's constant negative press about COVID is making Democrats crazy. But the constant negative press about Trump is correct. Right. I get it. Trump, far from perfect, but Bill Maher cannot cross that line and say, oh, calm down a little, can't you? No. He has to do the exact same thing. Sam Harris is the same way. These are people who I don't think are stupid. In fact, they're quite smart. And I think they're just elitists who think they're smarter than you and have to use manipulation tactics to convince people of things. And maybe that's the case. Look, I got to be honest. I worked for nonprofits. I know all too well how it works with, convincing people and making arguments. And if you come out and say you support Trump, they're not going to listen to you because they're tribalists. Maybe that's Bill Maher's strategy. Fine. I'm not a fan. I think if someone like Bill Maher came out and said, look, the guy's got problems, okay, there's a lot to dislike about him, but the media is lying all the time, you can still support Biden and say that. It's called being honest. This is fascinating. Bill Maher brings on these people onto his show, and I find it hilarious because he does not bring on honest people. He brought on one woman who said that Gina Carano was hanging out with white supremacists or whatever, some ridiculous nonsense, something like that. And Bill Maher did not, he's like, no, come on, I don't know about that. It depends on your definition of white supremacist. No, it doesn't. In no capacity is Gina Carano, she's the Star Wars lady who got fired. In no way is she hanging out with white supremacists. That's psychotic. It doesn't matter what your definition is, because if people are, my definition of blue is actually green. Okay, well, you're an idiot then. So Bill Maher is just, I jokingly said on IRL when we had Michael Knowles on Friday, I said, I'm one of the worst things for conservatives because I create a space for YouTube where conservatives will watch my content, disagree with me politically, but appreciate the honesty in reporting facts. And then, once they ban conservatives, the idea is conservatives will stay on the platform and they can push the Overton window. I say that somewhat facetiously, but Bill Maher is like one of the worst possible things. It's like he just gives the left what they want while acting like he has some kind of moral resistance to the left. Sorry, dude. This is funny. Bill Maher kicked off the Friday panel discussion refuting the notion that the Chauvin verdict was a true turning point for the U.S., arguing it's part of a trend since 2014 and listing other convictions of police officers involved in the deaths of Laquan McDonald, Walter Scott, Bottom Jean, and among others. The left loves its narratives, Mark quipped. This is something that has been changing. This is another brick in the wall that we're building. Amazing. I doubt Bill Maher actually watched the trial. Bill Maher also got the Covington kids story wrong because Bill Maher doesn't actually pay attention to the news. I can't really blame him. He's an old man. I have to imagine that he's like sitting there and he's like, his eyes are half closed and he's just like, tell me what happened, young producer. And the young producer is like, this happened, and this happened. He goes, okay, write me a joke. And then he goes up and he has a passive understanding of it and goes blah, 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 and doesn't really understand what's going on. Because if he actually watched the criminal trial of Derek Chauvin, he would have a much more nuanced view. The criminal trials are rarely open and shut cases. Sometimes it is. Sometimes the defense will be like, we're not saying the guy didn't kill him, but we're just saying, maybe he's crazy. Typically, trials are an attempt to convince a jury, in which case you should expect to get nuanced opinions. Not always. And, in this case, I think the riots played a role. And we've heard that from one of the jurors, turned out to be an alternate, that she was scared of the riots and didn't want to go through it again. So please, I've looked at a lot of legal analysis, and even among the left, they were like, did the prosecution really just say that? Whoa. And I covered this. There's no way you have those moments and it's just like, boom, within 10 hours, guilty, legitimately. Bill Maher should know that, but he doesn't. So Bill Maher gets into this fake argument where this woman goes, it's too slow. And Bill Maher's arguing, but the changes are happening, bro. It's a fake argument among people pretending to be left or people pretending, be liberal or whatever. This lady just needs an excuse. I think it was Lauren Southern. I didn't see the video, but I saw a thumbnail where it said something like, the guilty verdict of Derek Chauvin is a huge setback for Black Lives Matter. And it is. And here's Bill Maher saying, congratulations, you're winning. But I'll tell you this. The argument, I think, is dumb. I do think we can expect to see more violence very soon. We have May Day coming up. It's a major leftist protest holiday. But I do think Bill Maher and everything we're seeing is a really good example of how things are going to get worse. And honestly, I blame people like Bill Maher for being duplicitous and not standing up for facts and not bothering to do the work. But you know what? It don't matter. You know why? I'm sure there'll come a time where I'll end up being like Bill Maher, right? I'm 35. I don't know. What is he, like 60 or something? He's a boomer, I think. Maybe older than that. I don't know. Maybe he's not that old. Maybe I'm not giving him enough credit. I don't know how old he is. Do they say how old he is? They don't say how old he is. Okay, whatever. He's an old guy. Check this out. In this tweet, Bill Maher says on Millennials and Gen Z, abolish the police, border patrol, capitalism, or cancel Lincoln. The problem isn't that I don't get what you're saying or that I'm old. The problem is that your ideas are stupid. No. The problem is that you're old. Here's what's happening. Bill Maher is the liberal. Yeah. I was having a conversation with Michael Knowles on Friday. You may know Michael. He's from the Daily Wire. And I said, here's something fascinating. When we were talking about Caitlyn Jenner, I used she, her pronouns, and Michael used he, him. And I think this was before the show we were talking about. I was like, it's kind of fascinating. But on the show, I made the same point that we have a fundamental disagreement on the use of preferred pronouns. And it's obviously because I'm, left-leaning libertarian, moderate, I am progressive on many points, and I don't pretend not to be, but the left doesn't care because I don't agree with their broken view of reality. And that's where it comes. This is the argument. Michael Knowles and I know what objective reality is. We understand that certain things are true. And we may disagree on political opinion and policy ideas, but we follow the news and we follow the facts. That changes everything. Bill Maher doesn't. So I may have, some progressive views and some left-leaning policy positions, but when it comes to solutions pertaining to far-left extremism, Michael Knowles and I will probably agree that the riots must stop and they're bad. But if you only followed mainstream media, you'd think they were peaceful protests. You'd defend them. So this is why I say the left and the right isn't the right way to describe the culture war. It's more of, red pill, blue pill is probably better, in the matrix, out of the matrix. I am not a conservative. Michael Knowles is. We have a conversation. We both say the rioters should be arrested and prosecuted for felony charges. For all these things, we agree. And it's because we know they're rioting. We know they're setting fires. And it's because we watch the actual source material and we look for the facts. Bill Maher doesn't do that. Bill Maher does have his opinions and he has some principles. The problem is he does not actually pay attention to the news. So here's why I bring him up in this context. Because of people like Bill Maher and these arguments, Because of those who are unwilling to admit the truth, you get Mayor Ted Wheeler. You get ongoing far left riots. And where will we go in the future? Bill Maher says it's not because I'm old. In this clip, he points out that 33% of people under 35 want to abolish the police. Count me as one of them. You know why? Not for the reason the left wants. I just think it's high time we restore personal responsibility. And for the longest time, I was saying, obviously it's insane. We want police reform. We need more funding for police. We don't want to abolish them. At this point, I'm sick of these cops covering for people like Bill Maher. Bill Maher is the reason abolish the police can even exist. It's his unwillingness to actually look at the news and be discerning. He does a better job than most. I'm not trying to be too harsh on the guy. A better job than most, but not good enough, I guess. Too many of these leftists, too many of these liberals in places like Portland don't actually follow the news, and they eat up the propaganda from mainstream news sources. You'll see a video of a Black Lives Matter activist saying, "We will never be satisfied and we will take more." That will be laundered through mainstream media. And then some regular Portlandian who's not paying attention will be like, "I don't know, whatever. I just vote Democrat." I didn't hear that. That didn't happen. Hey, what about the 30 people who are dead? I don't know about all that's not true. It's the far right that we're worried about. How many people have died from far right terror in the past year? In the past year, I'm pretty sure the riots have a higher death toll. And so both are bad. Don't get me wrong. But it's people like Bill Maher that are allowing young people to be dumb. Because there's no principled people on the left standing up and saying no. Now, again, you might argue, but Bill Maher is opening the window for many of these people who don't normally pay attention. If he comes out and says Trump isn't that bad and the media's lying, then they won't believe him anymore. No. If every single individual who wanted to call it the media did, it would be over in a night. It's just done. There are too many celebrities who secretly are like, I know Trump's not that bad, but I won't say it. I'm scared. There are too many celebrities who support Trump or his ideas and won't say it because they're scared. Yeah, too bad. Here's what's going to happen. Young people are in favor of abolishing the police to a high percentage, a third, under 35. And it's probably even higher if you're under 24. So then what happens? The police will get abolished. And you know what? I don't care. Why? I live in the middle of nowhere. I got weapons. I can defend myself. And I think cops should get that message. If they're telling you to stop protecting their neighborhoods, stop doing it. I am sick of these cops in Portland. I'm sick of them. There's no excuse for this. Ted Wheeler joined the riots. Now he's saying, now that I have power, he is mocking you and spitting in your face to get power from these people. He threw you under the bus to get votes. And once he got them, now he comes crawling back, begging for your help. And if you give it to him, you're a loser. Sorry. Imagine living on your knees to someone like Ted Wheeler and begging him. I just love licking your feet. It's such pathetic BS. So no, I don't have sympathy for these cops. I'm sorry. Now, there are a lot of cops who still work at departments. They ain't that bad. I get emails from a lot of these cops and they're saying, you're right, I have to leave, but I don't know where I can work. And I'm like, dude, I'm sorry, man. I'm not trying to be mean. I'm just fed up with these guys in Portland going out night after night, arresting rioters, and then having the district attorney let them go. And then Ted Wheeler exploits them, says the riots are good, vote for me. And I'm speaking figuratively, he didn't literally say that. He joins in. And then he says, the policing is bad. It's so violent. We're going to do something about this. Then he wins off of the back of these police officers and then looks the cops in the eye and smirk and says, do your job, drop to your knees and lick my feet. And the cops go, okay. It's pathetic. It's pathetic. So that's why I'm mad at these cops. Because at any point they could have said, you will not treat us this way and we won't stand for it. Look, I think police departments need reform. I get all that. I don't think every single cop is a good person. I think there's a lot of bad people. I also think it's a pretty difficult position to be in when half the people think one law shouldn't be and half the people think it should be. And then you're like, what do I do? It's complicated. I get that. But imagine being such a spineless coward that when Ted Wheeler exploits you so that he can win an election spitting in your face, now comes back smirking at you and saying, shut up and do what you're told. And imagine being so pathetic that you do it. Sorry. My defense of the police went so far as that we need more funding for cops. We do. We need specialized police officers. Cops are not doctors. Cops are not psychologists. But how about we have specialized units, which means more money? You're going to have your standard, a patrol officer. And then maybe you have like a psychological operations officers. They get called out when there's a mental health episode, or one specialist comes out with some regular cops, some regular patrol officers. We just need better specialties among policing, which means more funding. And I'm not going to expect a regular cop to know all of these things. Cops ain't perfect. The policing system in this country is far from it. The criminal justice system is really good in a lot of ways, but we got a lot of work to do. It's one of the best in the world. That's a fact. Our prison system can do with a major overhaul. I'm just sick and tired of these cops being like, I'm going to stay and allow people like Ted Wheeler to keep wielding the power they wield. Because if every one of these cops just said no and walked away, you would see how quickly people like Ted Wheeler lose power. And the left would love it. But you know what? Why should anyone who doesn't live in these places care? And if you do, why do you keep living there and funding these people with your taxpayer dollars? I'm done. I'm sick of people who won't stand up for themselves. I'm sick of seeing people say, but it's safer for me to just keep the job. It's like, okay, well, then I hope it was worth having everything decay and burn down around you. And I hope you understand what you're leaving for your children. Maybe it's easy for me to say I don't have kids. I get that. I moved to the middle of nowhere. It wasn't the easiest thing in the world, but I decided to get away from the cities for these reasons. And I will speak up and speak out. Ain't no one going to accuse me of not speaking up about this like so many other people. No, I do it all day, every day. And you know what? There's always great risk. There are certain companies that don't want to sponsor my company or my shows or be involved. I don't care. Because I would rather die on my feet than live on my knees. I would rather be living in squalor, wearing rags and fishing with a stick in the middle of nowhere than be dropping to my knees for someone like Ted Wheeler to lick his feet. And these cops do it. I'll leave it there. Next segment's coming up at 1 p.m. on this channel. Thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you all then.